After waking up, the problem isn't a lack of effort, it's that forcing has become impossible. There is a moment in your awakening when you notice something strange. No matter how hard you try, certain things just don't obey anymore. You even try to go back to the old rhythm. You try to please, insist, fit in, but the body freezes, the mind resists, the soul rejects. And this is not laziness nor weakness. It is a sign that something in you has already changed. You know that moment when you realize that something has changed forever, but no one around you does. You try to get back to normal, push the envelope, pretend that everything is as before. But the body screams, the mind freezes, and you just can't take it anymore. If you've ever felt this, pay attention. What you're experiencing is not a crisis, it's not a phase, it's not freshness. It is the final awakening knocking on the door. And here's a truth that no one tells you. After you really wake up, there are things that you just can't force anymore, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you want to, no matter how much others expect it from you. And trying to force these things is not a sign of dedication. It is pure self-sabotage. Most people think that spiritual awakening is that magical moment of enlightenment, of eternal peace, of becoming a being of light that floats around radiating love. But the real one, the post-awakening, is crude. It's confrontational. It's you discovering that everything that worked before has become a trap now. That routine that gave you security, it became a prison. Those conversations that filled time, they have become a waste of energy. Those relationships you swore were for life, they became weight. And the worst, you try to explain this to someone and it seems that you are speaking Greek. Because those who have not gone through higher consciousness simply do not understand that there is a point of no return. A place where you no longer fit into the old mold, even if you force it. So, if you're here feeling out of place, tired of pretending, exhausted from trying to be who you were, know one thing: you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not wrong. What you are experiencing has a name, it has logic, and it has a solution. In this video, I'm going to show you the 6 things you can't force anymore after your final awakening, and why insisting on forcing them is preventing you from truly experiencing spiritual ascension. Get ready, because what you're going to find out here is not shallow motivational talk. It is the deep knowledge that only those who have lived in the skin can pass on. If you identified with any point in this video, comment here the number of the part that touched you the most, from 1 to 6. I want to know which of these truths resonated most deeply in your journey. There are people who wake up one day and realize that all that routine, the alarm clock at 6, the busy schedule, the piled up obligations, just doesn't make sense anymore. It's not laziness, it's not a cheap existential crisis. It's just that something has changed inside, and the body has started to scream what the mind still tries to ignore. After waking up, those rigid schedules that once functioned as safe rails became a suffocating prison. And then comes the first sign: exhaustion for no apparent reason, that feeling that you slept 8 hours but woke up more tired than when you went to bed. The body isn't being dramatic. It's being honest. The truth is that many people confuse productivity with purpose. He fills his schedule with appointments just to look busy, to feel that he is doing something with his life. But when the higher consciousness knocks on the door, these obligations begin to weigh in a different way. You look at that 9 o'clock meeting and think, why am I here anyway? It's not rebellion, it's clarity. It's spiritual awakening, showing that much of what you call responsibility is actually social theater, and trying to keep up that pace after the penny drops is like swimming upstream with an anchor strapped to your ankle. The interesting thing is that this physical resistance is real, not fresh. There are people who feel a headache every time they have to comply with an empty protocol. Others feel their stomachs churn before entering an environment that no longer vibrates at the same frequency. It's as if the body has become a walking lie detector, denouncing every attempt to pretend that everything is fine. Those who live life after awakening know that forcing the bar is not a sign of strength. It is a sign of disconnection. And the more you insist on pushing with your belly, the higher the price you pay. Insomnia, anxiety, that constant feeling of being out of place in your own life. But here's the trick: when you finally stop fighting with this new rhythm and start respecting what the body is asking for, something curious happens. You realize that you don't need 20 commitments to be relevant. That true productivity is not measured in hours worked, but in alignment. And that maybe, just maybe, all this exhaustion is just the sign that you are trying to fit into a mold that no longer fits. Then the inevitable question arises: if forcing the routine has turned into suffering, what else in your life is being pushed down your throat without you realizing it? Have you ever noticed how some conversations start to suck your energy in a way that didn't happen before? That elevator chat, the forced conversation in the cafe, the small talk that seems to spin in circles without going anywhere. After spiritual awakening, it is as if your internal system develops an allergy to empty words. It's not that you've become unsympathetic or arrogant, far from it. It's just that the higher consciousness simply doesn't have the patience to spend energy on dialogues that don't add anything, that don't touch anything real, that just occupy the air between two people. And the most curious, while before you even enjoyed these light conversations, now they leave you exhausted in minutes. The problem is that we live in a society that values talking too much. Talking a lot has become synonymous with being interesting, with being engaged. But anyone who has gone through spiritual ascension knows that there is a brutal difference between talk and noise. There are people who talk about traffic, about the soap opera, about time. And in the end you realize that nothing has been said, nothing has really been changed. It's like eating a whole package of snacks. It fills up, but it doesn't nourish. And after awakening, what you don't nurture begins to weigh you down. You feel a growing urge for silence, not because you're running away from people, but because you finally understood the value of saving your words for when they really matter. There is a dangerous trap in this process. Many people who live post-awakening feel guilty for not wanting to participate in these superficial conversations anymore. She thinks she's being rude, that she's isolating herself, that she should make an effort. Then she goes there and tries to explain who she is now, tries to put this whole transformation into words, and realizes that the more she speaks, the farther she is from being understood. It's like trying to describe the color blue to those who have never seen it. Words just can't do it. And do you know what happens? You get even more tired. Because it's not about being misunderstood by others, it's about yourself, trying to force a translation that may not even need to exist. The big turning point happens when you understand that not talking is not a miscommunication. Sometimes it's the most honest communication there is, that being silent is not being rude, it is being selective with your energy, that you don't need to fill every empty space with words just to please those who expect it from you. And that deep down, those who really resonate with your frequency will not need long explanations. But then another delicate question arises. If empty talk is tiring, what to do with those relationships that were built precisely on top of these superficial dialogues? There is a very specific moment in life after awakening when you look at certain friendships and realize a painful truth. You no longer have anything in common. And it's not because someone did something wrong or because there was a fight. It's simply because that connection made sense to who you were, not who you became. But then comes the guilt, right? This person has been with me in difficult times. We've known each other for so long, I can't just disappear, and that's where the danger lies. You start to maintain ties out of moral obligation, not out of true resonance. After the final awakening, the body doesn't let you forget this dissonance. It warns you before your mind even rationalizes. You know that feeling of heaviness that hits you when you see someone's name on your cell phone screen, or that deep tiredness that comes after a date that should be enjoyable but drained you like you'd run a marathon. It's your energetic system saying, hey, this frequency doesn't match ours anymore. It's not drama, it's not exaggerated sensitivity. It's the fifth dimension operating in your daily life, showing you that certain presences weigh you down because they are anchored in an old version of you. And the more you insist on forcing proximity, the more it hurts. It's like trying to stick your foot in a shoe that's gotten too small. It fits, but it hurts, and you know you won't be able to walk like that for long. The complicated thing is that we learn to value loyalty above all else. A true friend does not abandon, who is real stays. All these phrases that sound beautiful, but that in practice often become emotional prisons. There are people who carry dead friendships on their backs for years just because they are afraid of seeming ungrateful or superficial. But here's a truth that no one likes to hear. Acknowledging that a cycle is over is not betrayal. It's maturity. It is understanding that people can be important in specific phases of their journey without having to be in all of them. Think of it this way. You don't throw away your winter coat because it was essential in the cold. You just put it away when summer comes. With relationships, the principle is similar. And the most interesting thing is that when you finally let go of these connections that have already fulfilled their role, something opens up. A new space emerges, a breather happens. You realize that you were spending so much energy trying to maintain intercourse on the artificial respirator that there was nothing left to attract those who really vibrate at their current frequency. High consciousness doesn't ask you to be cruel or cold. It asks you to be honest. May you honor what was without holding on to what is no more. But there's one piece of this puzzle that complicates things even more. What about when what needs to be let loose isn't a person, but a whole version of who you thought you should be? Have you ever had that strange feeling of looking at a goal that you created yourself and feeling nothing? Like you know you should be excited, that that goal makes perfect sense on paper, that everyone around you would congratulate you if you could do it. But the motivation just doesn't come. After spiritual awakening, this becomes routine, and the worst, you start to question if there is something wrong with you, if you have lost ambition, if you have become accommodated. But the reality is different. It is not discouragement. It is pure misalignment. It's your soul refusing to chase dreams that were never really yours, that were inherited from family, copied from friends, or absorbed from a version of you that no longer exists. There are many goals out there that are beautiful to talk about, but empty to feel. That position that impresses on LinkedIn, that car that shows status, that trip that everyone wants to take. And before you could even get carried away with these things, force yourself to believe that this was what you wanted. But in the life after awakening, that mask falls off. The focus disperses, the discipline disappears, and you wonder why you can't dedicate yourself as much as before. The answer is simple and at the same time revolutionary, because its internal compass has changed direction. What was once true north has become just convenient north, and the high consciousness does not accept convenient, it demands authenticity. Look at the classic example. There are people who spend years building a brilliant career in medicine, law, engineering, careers that their parents dreamed of, that society values, that guarantee stability. Then comes the final awakening, and suddenly that person can no longer open a lawsuit, can no longer stand to enter the office, no longer feels the slightest desire to solve that equation. And everyone around is shocked. But you studied so much. You're throwing everything away. It's just not throwing it away. It's finally stopping chasing the wrong trophy. It is to understand that success that impresses but does not fulfill is just a sophisticated type of failure. And forcing enthusiasm at this time is not willpower, it is self-sabotage. The great thing is that when we release these phantom goals, a lot of things are scary. Because if you're no longer that person who wants it all, who are you? If your dreams are no longer those, what are the new ones? And if you don't have a new dream yet, what do you do with this emptiness? It's uncomfortable as hell, I admit. But do you know what's worse? Spend the next 10 years of your life pretending that you still want something, just so you don't disappoint those who don't even live your story. Spiritual ascension doesn't offer you ready-made answers. It gives you the courage to ask the right questions. And sometimes, the most important question is, do I still want this, or am I just afraid I want something else? There's a very subtle trap that takes a lot of people by surprise after waking up. The idea that right now, with all this heightened consciousness, you should be doing even more. Like, now that I've woken up, I need to harness this spiritual energy to accomplish everything I've ever wanted. Then the person goes out accelerating projects, filling the agenda again, doing it for the sake of doing it, only this time in a spiritual guise. And do you know what happens? The body freezes, the mind scrambles. That feeling of being disconnected comes back with everything, only now worse, because you don't understand. But I'm doing good things, things aligned. Why isn't it flowing? The answer is hard but necessary, because you have exchanged the external rush for the internal rush, and the post-awakening is not asking for action, it is asking for integration. After the final awakening, there are phases in which silence is not optional, it is mandatory. There are times when recollection is not an escape, it is a survival strategy. It's just that this thing of ascending to the fifth dimension is not just a beautiful event that happens and that's it, life goes on. It is a dense, deep process that stirs layers and layers of your being. And these layers need time to reorganize, to settle down, to make sense together. When you keep filling every gap with activity, even if it's meditation, even if it's spiritual reading, even if it's light work, you prevent this integration from happening. It's like planting a seed and poking the earth every day to see if it sprouted. Haste doesn't help, it gets in the way. The worst thing is that we were conditioned to think that stopping is wasting time, that being quiet is unproductive, that if you're not doing anything visible, you're stagnant. But in life after awakening, the greatest transformations happen just when you're not doing anything. It is in silence that the pieces fit together. It is in stillness that the answer comes. It is in the void that the new finds space to be born. Forcing action when the moment calls for a break is like trying to drive with the handbrake on. You even walk, but you squeak, you get hot, you wear out, and in the end, you don't even get halfway there that you would have if you had released the brake. The fifth spiritual dimension operates in another time, and respecting this time is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And look at the irony. When you finally stop forcing and allow yourself to just be, without producing, without proving, without performing, that's when things really start to move. Ideas come out of nowhere, doors open without you knocking, paths appear where before there was only a wall. It's not magic, it's alignment. It's you getting out of the way and letting life flow through you instead of trying to shove it down your throat. But here comes another provocation. If even your growth efforts may be getting in the way, is there something even deeper that you are insisting on keeping, even though you know you should have already quit? Of all the things you can no longer force after spiritual awakening, this is the most painful, pretending to be who you were before. There are people who even try, see? He puts on the social mask, plays the character that everyone knew, makes that little effort to look normal. But then comes that horrible feeling, as if you were wearing an outfit 3 sizes smaller. It fits, but it tightens, suffocates, hurts. The high consciousness does not accept theater. It does not tolerate falsehood, not even that socially accepted falsehood, the one that everyone practices to keep up appearances. After the final awakening, acting as before is not only tiring, it is physically unbearable. The body rejects it, the mind goes into conflict, and you feel that every second in that old role is a second stolen from your truth. The problem is, the people around you loved that old version of you. She was predictable, comfortable, known. When you really change, you don't change your opinion, but you change your frequency. Everyone is lost. You've changed, they say, as if it were an accusation. And you're like that. Explain. Do you try to make everyone understand that you didn't become someone else? You just stopped pretending to be someone you never were? Or do you simply accept the discomfort and move on? What weighs most is realizing that many people prefer their comfortable lie to their uncomfortable truth. And then you understand that it was never about you being difficult. It was always about you no longer fitting into the mold that you were expected to occupy forever. There is an example that illustrates this well. Imagine someone who was always the funny guy in the group, the one who cheered everyone up, who made fun of everything, who never took anything seriously. Then comes life after awakening, and that person just can't sustain that character anymore. Not because she became depressed or boring, but because all that humor was, deep down, an armor. A way of not getting in touch with anything deep, neither with myself nor with anyone else. And when the armor falls, when one finally allows oneself to be serious, to be deep, to be vulnerable, everybody is weird. Where's so-and-so funny, they ask. And the real answer, which no one wants to hear, is, he never really existed. It was just a disguise that you used to get accepted. The great insight of spiritual ascension is to understand that you never needed the approval of those who only love you conditionally, conditioned on you continuing to be what they need you to be. The truth sets you free, but first it bothers you like hell. And when you stop wearing the old identity, a lot of things fall apart with it. Friendships, opportunities, even that image you had of yourself. But do you know what is born in the place? Something rare in this world of facades, authenticity, the real version of you, raw, unfiltered, unscripted. And you can bet those who are to stay recognize this truth from afar. Those who are not leave complaining that you have changed. And that's okay, because your journey was never about pleasing the audience. It was always about finally finding yourself. Awakening didn't give you superpowers. He took away the ability to be violent. And then, after everything we've talked about here, comes the question that really matters. What now? Will you continue to force yourself to fit into a mold that no longer fits? Or will you have the courage to honor who you have become after the final awakening? Because look, knowledge that doesn't turn into action is just entertainment. And you didn't get this far. You couldn't stand this whole video just to entertain yourself. You are here because something in you has recognized these truths. Because you're tired of pretending. Because you are ready to live life after the real awakening, without masks, without excuses, without forcing anything else that your body and soul have already rejected. So I challenge you, choose one of these 6 things. It can be the routine that no longer makes sense, the conversation that drains, the relationship that weighs you down, the goal that is not yours, the forced productivity, or the old identity. And stop forcing it. Today. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not when the conditions are perfect. Today, what's the one thing you're going to stop shoving down your throat? Which lie are you going to release first? Because I guarantee you one thing, the moment you stop supporting what has already died, you make room for what needs to be born. And that's when the elevated consciousness finally finds fertile ground to truly flourish. Now answer me honestly, are you willing to live this truth, or will you remain comfortable in the illusion? Which of these 6 areas of your life is crying out for deliverance right now? Do you dare to name this here in the comments? Because when you appoint, you take over, and when you take over, you transform. The 5th dimension is not a destiny. It is a daily choice to stop betraying who you really are. If this video moved you, if you felt that finally someone is speaking your language, then subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. Because here we don't make superficial content, we go deep into the truths that no one has the courage to say about the spiritual journey for real. There's a lot more knowledge coming around, and you won't want to miss it. See you in the next video. And until then, stop forcing what your soul has already released. If something no longer obeys, maybe it's not resistance, maybe it's respect.